So we talked in our earlier film about trailer brakes and how you might have a risk of having a trailer run away and so on. We have now Dieter here. Hello. And we will try to connect now the trailer in a way that it's as safe as possible. So we will do all the precautions to avoid trailer runaway, because now we don't really know for how long the trailer has been parked there. So it could be that the whole air system is evacuated. Now it's on fairly flat ground, but if you were picking this trailer up from a place where it's sort of uneven terrain, when we connect the hoses to the trailer, then if we do it, for instance, in unoptimal order, could be that the trailer, when the landing gear get up in the air, when the tail of the truck is being lifted up, you lose the trailer. So we now will do all the precautions that we can to avoid that.
The first thing I would do is to check that the parking brake on the trailer is on.
Yeah, because you have not left this trailer here.
No, I didn't.
I wonder who that has been.
Exactly. So I want to check if the parking brake is on, so I'm good to start there.
So we don't know the state of the air system of the trailer, and the only way to make sure that the brakes are actually on in these axles is to go and check that the parking brakes are on. So let's go and check that out. So that one,
parking brake is
you pull it out.
Yeah.
So now, as you have pulled it out, the spring actuated brakes are on, and it's not dependent on if the trailer has air in it or not.
No.
So we should be safe. So no matter what happens from this point onward, we know that there are brakes on these axles. Just as long as they're loaded with spring actuated brakes. You seem to have quite clean jacket. How do you keep your jacket clean when you connect trailers?
I try to reverse not all the way to the trailer, so I keep some space between my tractor and the trailer, so I can easily get in between to connect the hoses or disconnect the hoses. So that helps me to try to keep it clean a little bit.
Very good. And another thing we want to look into is that if we have a lot of grease in here, we don't want to wipe it off, because otherwise your catwalk will get all greasy, and then the grease is not where it should be, because we should have the grease around here, around this kingpin, so we don't want to wipe it off. So if we can bring the truck as close as possible before lifting it up, then we will not wipe off the grease from the fifth wheel, and we keep the grease where it is.
And now we are lucky we have a tractor that has fifth wheel that doesn't need to be greased. It's made of Teflon, but we're picking up somebody else's trailer that may have left a lot of grease on the trailer, so we still take a bit care there.
So then reverse under the trailer, and if you can, I don't know, I wonder who has left this trailer here. I don't know if you managed to.
I wonder as well if there's space enough to get underneath it. So let's see. We'll take it carefully.
But then you can reverse it in a way that you still have some space to connect all the hoses, and then we look into what we do with the hoses and cables. Cool. Yeah, looks good. And we were just talking about how the trailer brakes work in this truck.
Yeah.
So now if you go and pick up a trailer and forget to check the red valve, And let's say that the trailer doesn't have any air in it, or maybe it has, but you connect the hoses in unoptimal order. The risk is that we open up the brakes of the trailer. So let's look into what we could do with the order of the hoses. So we have here, what we have here is, this is the service line that will give you pressure when you press the brake pedal or when you want to activate the service brakes. Then we have the supply line. Then we have the cables for the 24-volt system lights. And then we have the EBS cable here. And if you start from here, from the supply line, which I suppose many drivers start, because it's like in most of the countries the one that's further apart. When you put this in and start supplying air, but you are not supplying or you're not having any pressure on the service line, it could be that the brakes of the trailer open up.
Yeah.
So the best practice here to have another safety layer is to start off with this, because then it puts the service brakes on if the truck is doing that. So we start with this one.
Sure.
So yellow first. A little bit corroded because our trailer stands here in the sea. And then I would put this one to start supplying pressure if the trailer has evacuated. Now it's a little bit unoptimal order in the countries, and now we can hear that air starts going into the trailer, and then you can put the rest of it. The order doesn't matter so much. Sometimes if you have grounding issues in these cables or trailers, then if one of the cables have bad grounding, then it could mess up sometimes the truck's electric systems. So it's good to keep the cables in good shape and the contacts. So now we're connected. What do we do right now then? The trailer is still not connected.
No, now I will reverse the last bit to connect to the kimping and the fifth wheel.
Yeah.
And then we take the next step and start hoisting up the support legs and so on.
We have the supply line connected, that fills the air tanks. Then we have the service line connected, which activates the service brakes. But on top we have another braking system activated, and what is that?
The parking brake on the trailer.
So we have pulled out the red tab, so the spring activated brakes on the trailer are on, but on top we will supply air through this, and then in case of our truck it will also activate the service brakes of the trailer when the parking brake is active.
Yeah, because of the parking brake.
So we have now two systems holding the trailer stand still, even if the fifth wheel is not yet connected. So we should be quite safe. And then we can get out of this catwalk. And I will just go and see that the trailer stands in place and what happens. It's parked quite well. I wonder who did that. Now we at least heard that the fifth wheel clicked.
Yeah.
How can we check if it is now really locked?
Or you go around to see where the handle is, to see that the little, depending on what fifth wheel you have, but in our case we have a little handle that falls down to show that the arm has gone all the way in and it's locked. But I always check myself under the trailer as well, just to be sure I see that it is.
Have you ever dropped a trailer?
No, but I was close to losing one. But I'm always careful when driving away and testing that the connection is properly done, so I noticed in time to correct it.
I've dropped some throughout the years, and if it happens when you're in traffic, that's scary. So I have a habit of actually going under the trailer and check that it is there, because you don't want to lose a trailer.
No.
So
no, it's,
so let's go and check the
yeah.
handle.
Yes.
And
so we can see that the little support there, I can't reach it completely, has fallen down, which means that the handle has gone all the way in.
yeah,
Otherwise it goes up like this.
yeah.
Now it's gone all the way down.
So it has to be all the way in.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit in unoptimal place, and then some drivers have a habit of attaching something here to make it easier to release.
Some wire or a rope.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be doing that, because in case that rope goes around the wheel or something, that might pull the thing out. So only thing you should be adding is things that the fifth wheel maker has certified to be used. So you might have an extension, but that has to come from the supplier of the fifth wheel, and that has to be certified.
Yeah.
The ropes and cables and rubber things you should never have in there, because the risk is that it gets attached to the tire from somewhere and pulls the thing out violently, and then you are at cruising speeds, and that's scary.
It's maybe an easy solution and a quick fix, but it's not worth it.
And then we can go under the trailer, and I've had a habit of going in here and just check
Exactly.
that it is actually around the kingpin,
Yeah.
the locking mechanism.
Exactly. You can see that the kingpin is grabbed now.
Takes 30 seconds, but then you know.
Yep.
So now we're sure that the trailer is connected to a truck, and now it's no harm of releasing the parking brakes of the trailer. There is no risk of having a runaway.
No.
But then you can wind the legs up, I suppose, if you want. And the legs are up. Then what I would do if this was a trailer that I was picking up from a harbor, go check the load. If it's not sealed trailer, that it is what it's supposed to be, and it's properly tied
secured.
down. So we can do that next. And then you can release the parking brakes from the trailer, and you should be safe and sound, and you can start your mission. Should we look inside? What do we have here? So typically in our truck we haul these concrete blocks around, and Dieter has done a super good job in tying them down. There is a piece of rubber under every pallet, supported to the front wall. Yeah, it's supported against the front wall. Then we have top overlashing rubber mats, and a little bit support also rearwards. This would be really good if we're going into ship or something, or if the trailer was loaded to a train. So the load is okay. The content of the load was what it's supposed to be. I have one time picked a trailer where the load didn't match the documentation, and then I went to the receiver just to realize that it's a wrong load. Now we know that the truck is attached to the truck. It will not run away, and you can then release the spring actuated brakes of the trailer.
Yep.
And now we have safely connected the trailer. We don't have a risk of losing the trailer in any situation.
Regardless, one thing I still do is when I start rolling, I use the trailer brake to see that it's not disconnecting from the tractor, just as an extra safety check.
And then another thing I have a habit of doing, being an ex-Nordic truck driver, it's not so much of a thing with disc brakes anymore, but sometimes with the drum brakes, if the trailer had been parked to a yard, they got frozen.
Yeah.
And I have a habit of then, when I start driving, to do a little bit S-curve that I see in the mirrors, that all of these tires are actually rotating, because if you pull them for 500 meters without brakes opening up, then you have ruined the tire, and that's expensive to replace. So I have a habit of doing a little bit of S-curve.
If you're lucky, and some of you in Nordic markets have seen this already, they put these yellow plastic things that stick out from the wheel, so you don't have to do the S-curve, but you see these yellow plastic sticks sticking out, and you can see that the wheels are rotating. So
sometimes you also see that they have painted markings, but yeah, with the CMS monitoring system, you really clearly see if the wheels spin when you just do a slight curve in both directions. All right,
let's go.